Hey, I come to you today to talk about what can impact cognitive screening results other than cognitive issues. Look, as hearing healthcare moves in the right direction, taking on cognitive screenings, a lot of questions come up along the way. But here's the most important thing that I have to say about this before I answer the actual question. Please don't let your own bias or fear of the unknown get in the way of doing cognitive screenings. Okay? Here's the deal. PCPs, they don't have time for cognitive screenings. And if we wait for the patient to actually go see the neuropsychologist, at that point, it's likely too late. So it's vitally important that sensory clinics like hearing healthcare centers do their part in the healthcare system and screen adult patients for potential issues with cognitive decline. After all, as you know, hearing loss is a major factor for potentially developing dementia. All right, back to the question, which was raised by many and even some in my own clinic. What else can affect cognitive screening results? And then follow up, what do we do with these patients? All right, number one, when doing a cognitive screening, please keep in mind that almost any neurocognitive or neurodiverse issue can rear its head. For example, let's start with dyslexia. Individuals with dyslexia may have difficulty processing and remembering information that they see and hear, which can affect how they perform on a cognitive screening. Okay, here's another one. Patients with anxiety and depression. See, these are real cognitive issues, not just feelings, and they can affect cognitive assessment scores. Here's a real life example that I want to share with you. I have a patient, sharp as a tack, business owner for over 30 years, who performs poorly on a cognitive screening. Why? Because he's cognitively impaired? No, because many years ago, he was exposed to carbon monoxide poisoning, and it affects his processing. Of course, a medical history that includes brain injury or concussions can also impact performance on a cognitive screening. And let's not forget, many of our patients are polypharmacy, and there's way too many medicines to name, but many medications, especially in those patients who take more than 4 medicines, can impact cognition. So while cognitive screenings are designed to look at thinking, decision-making, processing speed, learning, and memory, there may be non-cognitive issues that impact performance on one or many of these cognitive functions. See, the list above is just a few examples you may come across. There are plenty more to consider. Which brings me to the second question. What do we do with these patients? Look, your job is to screen for cognitive issues. And in our field, our concern is the impact that hearing loss has on cognition. Look, I'm hopeful and assuming that at this point, people in hearing healthcare are done bickering about to do or not to do cognitive screenings, right? Because if you aren't doing them, you simply are not following best practices and you're not holding the welfare of each patient paramount. I know that'll probably get me in trouble, but it's true. So in screening a patient who has potential other issues that impact cognitive screenings, it's okay. The great news is you cared enough to actually do the screening. You cared enough to then send the results to the primary care physician. Remember, it's the PCP's job to decide if the patient needs further investigation, not yours, and certainly not mine. The primary care physician, otherwise known as the general contractor of the patient's healthcare, will decide if the dyslexia or the history of brain injury is the reason that the patient had difficulty on a cognitive screening. And then she will decide if further testing is warranted. Perhaps the PCP will decide that given the screening results, the relevant medical history, the family history of cognitive decline, and the patient's concerns that their memory ain't what it used to be, actually warrants further testing and follow-up. Either way, it's the PCP's job to decide next steps, whereas your job is to screen and uncover the potential effects of hearing loss on cognition and potential increased risk of cognitive decline and dementia. I hope this helps. Take care.